is
Hello.
our season finale, correct?
It is episode 13.
Yeah, which don't freak out if you guys are enjoying these weekly episodes. We're taking like a brief, maybe month-long break, maybe not even. We just Kate started a new job. I'm potentially searching, I don't know. I'm figuring my shit out. So, we're going to take a few weeks, figure our shit out individually on our routines and then circle back and pick back up. But for this finale, we really, I at least really wanted to switch gears and kind of was like, hey, Kate, curveball, I'm sick of talking about corporate life because that's our past, not our future. And we both recently read Yesteryear by Carol Claire Burke. And so I was like, hey, can we just talk about this book? Because we are both readers and storytellers and writers. And yeah, it still fits who we are and what the show's about. It's just a little different. And we don't have a real plan. We are just gonna share our thoughts and feelings because, in case you don't know yet, I have strong thoughts and feelings. I've hinted at it in a few posts here and there, but I haven't had a full, like, vent like this. So we're just gonna throw it out there and talk about it. And if you have not read the book and you're worried about spoilers, don't listen because we're just gonna speak freely and not speak in code. So,
Yes.
all that being said, anything that I forgot?
No, I'll just underline again in case someone missed it. Please turn it off. If you don't want spoilers, now's the time. Turn off the podcast and come back to it in a few weeks. And I will just say I am so excited about this pivot. And when you talked to me about doing this episode, I was thrilled. When I read the book, you were the first person that I texted, like, "Oh my God, have you heard of this? And are you reading it?" And we both got it on Libby. And so, of course, we couldn't read it at the same time. I think I read it maybe like 4 weeks ago or so. I was like number like 120 in line, and then all of a sudden my library got like a lucky day copy. And so I could just like read it randomly. So I thought I was going to have to wait like 6 months, but I didn't. So, anyways, I'm glad that you also got it too. And now we can talk about it now, and it hasn't been that long since I read it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like honestly such a compelling story, I feel like, that even if I had read it like months ago, I would still have pretty, maybe not as detailed analysis and like opinions and like evidence to back up shit, but I feel like this is going to stay with me for quite some time.
Yeah.
So
It
I
really,
honestly don't
really was
even,
good.
I guess my first where we should start is feelings on Natalie overall, because I feel like from there we will start to dive into plot points, but
Yeah.
yeah, Natalie's the main character. How do we feel about her? Because I'm not used to hating a main character as I'm reading a story.
Yeah, not only is Natalie an unreliable narrator, she's also just like wildly unlikable. So
Yes.
kudos to the author there for it's kind of hard to make people want to read a book when they don't like the main character. And I've talked to a lot of different people about I went to a book club specifically on this book a couple weeks ago, and basically like everyone there was like, hate this main character. So I think that's very common, but it was still a really compelling story. I mean, for me, I didn't like her. I'm the kind of person though, like I see all the sides to I see like the best in everyone, benefit of the doubt, whatever. I also have my own grievances with the part of me that relates to the angry woman girl boss uh, anti-hero that she was talking about. And so that part of her where she was angry at the girl boss part was like, okay, I don't like your reasons for being angry at that. It's not the same, but I'm also kind of angry at that archetype. So there was a little bit of relationship in the very beginning of like common ground, but it quickly just melted away the more I learned about her. So
Yeah. No, I super agree with that, and I feel like I'm glad you remind me of like the unreliable narrator thing because I feel like I didn't realize how unreliable she was in the beginning either. Like I could tell she obviously was very biased. She obviously had a very like lens on the world, very specific lens. but I still didn't like pick up on how bad it was until like kind of the end. But no, I mean, same. She like also I picked up on her hypocrisy pretty quickly because like you're
Yeah.
describing, she's angry at like herself, but she's projecting it
Yeah.
onto different versions of like a very similar to her like
Uh-huh.
lifestyle.
Hmm.
So that was annoying me off the bat. Again, because I can relate, because like that is most of the time when I find myself disliking somebody that I either don't know at all or don't know very well, it's because I notice the traits in them that I don't like about myself, and so I start
Yeah.
to really project that self-hatred and end up hating them. So I could like
Yeah.
I could relate to her in that sense a little bit. I feel like she was
Yeah.
very obviously
Yeah.
dramatic. She's a very hateful person, but I could
Yeah.
relate to some of that hate, I guess. And I
I
relate to like the
also,
Christian upbringing. Like I wasn't raised as like hers seemed a little more cult-like than my upbringing, like a little um I don't know the right denomination, but I was a non-denominational Christian growing up, so I don't have like a very intense lens the way I feel like she did. But I could relate to a lot of that judgment too, especially like in parts of the story where she's like younger, like in college. Like I went into college as a Republican, like a pro-life, really hateful kind of person. Like I was very different when I was 18, 19 years old. So
mhm,
I had, like you said, I had a lot of grace for her in the beginning
yeah.
because I was like, yeah, she's a young woman
Yeah.
going out in the world for the first time. Like, I don't know, raised by a single mom. Like I was fine. Like I could
Yeah.
give her a lot of grace.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, it wasn't until the end and everything came to light that I was like, fuck this bitch. Like,
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
grace.
Yeah.
But
I too relate on the religious upbringing part. I was raised Catholic. I went for elementary school all 8 years to a Catholic school. I went to, you know, purity retreats in high school and pro-life marches and all that. I wouldn't necessarily characterize myself as walking into college a pro-life, asshole or whatever. But I don't know. There was a lot of things with, and I also like. I don't know. I feel like my religious upbringing was more around like I am a sinner, me. It was less focused on like what everyone else is doing. That wasn't really part of at least the brand of Catholicism that I was raised with. It was more just like, but I'm bad and need to confess my sins to a priest because when I was in third grade, I didn't want to eat my tacos, so I flushed them down the toilet, and that was lying, and it's so sinful, and I'm so bad. Like it was that kind of stuff. So,
yeah.
um, so I related to that, and like I I wanted I walked into the book feeling like I have a complicated history or whatever with the trad wife thing. I think I understand. Well, first of all, I'm not super steeped in social media culture, so I didn't also really like what is the trad wife movement really. I don't watch the Heritage Foundation or whatever Charlie Kirk's wife name is. Like I don't like know and understand all the lore, but I do understand the concept of women wanting to be in a more traditional role with motherhood and wanting to do nostalgic hobbies and like sew their kids clothes and bake homemade bread on the weekend and go out and garden and grow your own vegetables. Like these are things I enjoyed a lot when I was in
Yeah.
North
Like
Carolina.
homesteading is appealing.
Yeah, and so I was like, I don't have a problem with that, and I get kind of angry at the culture for being so mad at that kind of woman who wants that instead of other types of things. Um, Even though I know that's the criticism around trad wife movement is much deeper than simply like you're not a feminist or you want to be a stay-at-home mom or whatever. It's not that. So, anyways, so yeah,
Yeah.
that made me kind of want to like her for a little while, but I just couldn't maintain it. Especially for me, she like really, I mean, she really lost me with the way that she treated her children. That was like the first like, um, and as someone who's had a complicated relationship with social media and has gone on and off, am I an influencer? Am I not? Like, should I put my kids in this picture as we're doing a road trip and traveling to all these state national parks. Like, people love kids and they're homeschooling in national parks. That's so cool. Should I include them? Am I exploiting my kids if I do that? Like, whatever. And just seeing how she exploited her kids when it came to social media, that was just like a huge blah. And then the way she treated her husband the whole time, the guy was an idiot. But also, she treated him so shitty. Like, she just wasn't good to him either. So, that's where she lost me.
And I think that's where a lot of my frustration for her came from, is because a lot of the, like, miserable circumstances that she ended up in were of her own doing, and it would have been so easy to undo. And I think that's where, like, I don't know what level of sharing feels appropriate, but like that's where I really snapped toward the end, was realizing how much she put herself and everyone in her family through just for like fuck all reasons. Like I still don't understand why her like reaction to the backlash was strong enough to cause like that level of like just it's just insane to me how selfish that woman ended up being in the end. And it just reminded me of so much of like my own growing up and just being like, why is my mom staying in like these married like I still to this day I don't feel like my mom was in the happiest relationship. She's still married and she's happier now because like whatever, but it was one of those things I really just like was hard at the end where I was like, God, fuck her. Like it obviously was a very extreme example. My life wasn't like Mary's by any means, but it was like, oh my God. That's why I hated her, because the whole time it was like maybe she's just naive and she just needs to like have that moment. And it's like I kind of forgot that we had already seen her like not present, but like relatively present life. So it was like hard for me as we went back in time to while she was like meeting her husband and all that stuff. It was like, okay, well, you know, she's young, she's naive, like she could change. Like I just kept hoping for her to change for the better.
Yeah.
And then naturally, like where you kind of think she goes back in time, I again was rooting for like this character development. I'm like, where is this like she's gonna redeem herself, she's gonna realize, she's gonna like correct her sins. Like I even was looking at it from like the Christian lens of like maybe she's just gonna like Night Before Christmas it, like she's gonna see this alternate life and like decide to be a better person. And her, you know, like I was just waiting for that flip, the positive flip. And to not get that was like soul wrenching. I was like, oh. And now I feel like I have more hate for her because of how the truth was revealed, where it's like, oh my God, like you bitch. Like I don't even know how to like, for those listening who didn't read it, I don't even know how to explain it in a way that doesn't just like sound insane. But it literally was just she's insane and she caused this whole life for no reason.
Yeah, you know, and I have a lot of, I think I've been really thinking a lot lately about this limiting belief that like a lot of people have of like, well, your parents taught you these behaviors and they taught you this religion and they taught you you're supposed to go to college to find a guy to whatever. Like her mom taught her all of these things. Her religious upbringing taught her all of these things. And there's this big idea out there that like, well, you're stuck with that. Like you learned that, you had this shitty childhood, you had these shitty things happen to you. And so that's just kind of the person you are. And like, that sucks for you. And I fundamentally am like, no, that is like, I am not saying that people don't have like that, none of that exists. Of course you learn things, and of course it's really harmful, and of course it's wildly difficult to break out of all of these things, especially the more traumatic that they were, and it leaves lasting scars. I'm like, I totally get it, but I also know that people can and do change. And so I too was hoping for Natalie to have this redemption arc the whole time. And for me, there were like two main moments, but I guess like the main moment when I knew like that's just not going to happen was watching what happened with her sister and how her mom treated her sister with kindness, despite her sister like getting divorced and now being a single mom of all of these children and like doing things the total opposite of the way that Natalie's mom had like raised her, of like, this is what being a good wife means, and like you're just supposed to suffer with the shitty husband you've got for the sake of the kids and whatever. And it's like, watching her sister and her mom navigate that, and then Natalie just continuing to just beat her sister down with judgment and shame and blame and whatever. I'm just like, oh my God. Like, her mom is clearly changed. Her sister's clearly outgrown these things. Why can't she do it? She is
Yeah.
such an asshole.
That's where like the
And
hypocrisy was like bred, I feel like, because
yeah,
even while she was being brought up in this religion and like being taught all of these things, she saw her mom raising her as a single mom, and even though they told people the dad was dead, she knew her dad was not dead. So there's also like that cognitive dissonance has been in there her whole life. Like as she's being taught everything that's right, she's living everything that's wrong and not feeling that. Like I'm sure that caused a lot of whatever
yeah,
inside, like a lot of turmoil, and then
yeah.
yeah.
And the worst part, not the worst part, but
Well, no.
that second moment, there's so many worst parts of everything she did. But something else that really bothered me too, because you were talking about how like so much of this was like her own making. It was
Yeah.
all her own making. And I really despised, like, her husband sucked. And also he was, I think he was trying. Like,
Yeah.
I saw him trying. Like, she said, like, oh, I would like to have a farm someday and blah 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 when they were still in college. And he was like, I don't know anything about farming, but like I will try and learn and try to give you this dream come true. Like, that's nice. And then like later he was like, well, I think I'm really interested in children. And like, I want to be a kindergarten teacher. And she was like, no, that's not a manly job. Like, that's not a respectable job. Like, you can't
Yeah.
do that and whatever. And it's like, his parents were so wealthy. They were totally set up. She was doing whatever she was doing for her career, which was totally exploitative. Like, you're mad that the guy won't get a job and won't have a career. Let him explore what he's interested in. Like, it's not as if they needed him to have a more well-paying job or something. Like, they were
Yeah.
fine. She's just an idiot. So
This
I
is like
really didn't like that either.
this is where I wish in a way that there were real people, because I know there's so much more complexity that like I have so many questions around like was he, I guess I see it two ways. Was he on one hand trying to break like his family's generational trauma by kind of like doing this other thing? Like you said, he wanted to be a kindergarten teacher. He wants to kind of do something that his family's generationally politicians, like that's not gonna be what they want him to be. um Whatever, they're like very traditional, also like very conservative family. So it's like, was he trying to break out of that, even subconsciously? Like in a way, was he trying to be like, I just want to choose joy, not this fucking life that's, because I liked him in that moment. I was like, man, I wish she would leave him alone, because like I could marry him and help him fulfill that, like we could have such a happy little life.
Yeah.
Like, because at that point I didn't hate him yet. Like I don't hate him, I guess, but didn't dislike him at all. I was just like, good for him. He's trying to just be happy, and I'm such a joy seeker that I was like, yeah, good for you. Like choose joy. And again, she was like, no, it's not manly enough. But that was like again her traditional upbringing was like coming out where she wasn't
Mhm.
sure. And then the question I have is like, how much influence did his parents really have on her mindset too? Because it seemed later like she was trying to really please his parents and like prove to them that
Mhm.
she could help both her and him live out
Yeah.
whatever life they wanted for them.
Yeah.
So did we just like, did I miss something earlier? Did they not mention something? Like I feel like there's a hole there around like some conversations between maybe her and the dad, at least
Yeah.
implying you have to help me keep my son in a good enough position. And
Mm.
then she obviously
Interesting.
agrees wholeheartedly in what's acceptable and what's not, so it was like easy
Sure.
for her. But like that didn't happen in the book. But like I do question, like, because later it seemed like she was like, no, I can do this, like I can get him on track, like they like had a
Yeah.
phone call
Uh-huh.
about it, and it was like so confusing, because I was like, I didn't realize you were even close with his dad like that, like to the point
Yeah.
that you guys are like planning his life. It was very Rory Gilmore, like planning
Uh-huh.
Logan's life with like his dad type shit, like that's like his dad
Uh-huh.
was trying to get Rory in on the plan. Like it felt very much
Yeah.
like that, but she was in on it. She didn't pull a Rory, she was like, what the fuck. So I
Yeah.
don't know, I was like, again, it's like I wanted to believe there was like a redemption arc and like a generational trauma healing thing happening, and then she just kept ruining it. She just kept coming
Yeah.
in and making them stay on this miserable path
Hmm.
because I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
even like I don't even think she's one of those people who like I don't even believe that she actually is religious and believes because she didn't like actively like pray and preach and like live out any of the like things that I remember from Christianity. It was all just like today modern
Yeah.
like hateful Christian. Like,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
oh, it's just so hard to wrap my brain around the fact that there was not a redemption arc. Like,
Yeah.
I'm
So
broken.
I know you're really interested from the conversations that we have. I know you're really feel really passionately about her as a mother. And I was
Yeah.
reading something like a week or so ago. I don't remember when it was, but it was the critique. I think it might have been in the Guardian. The critique was that motherhood was not explored well in this book. Meaning, and what they meant by that was because I think they did a really interesting job looking at like interpersonal relationships between children and like how mothers like that neglect their children. Like that part, I think was really interesting, and certainly like the most compelling piece, especially of the second half of the novel.
Yeah.
But there was, I agreed with the Guardian's perspective that like the physical parts of motherhood, like there was nothing about breastfeeding. There was
Mm.
nothing about, and I'm pulling like breastfeeding out, but like other things I think of when I think of the trad wife movement, and things I think of when I think about like she wanted to have home births and like whatever, just these like really feminine, really physical parts of motherhood that weren't touched at all. And I didn't miss that in the book. I didn't my own kids. I pumped because I don't like breastfeeding, like for myself personally, but I do, whatever. Anyways, so I don't know if it's just like me, like I didn't miss that part of the book, but I did think it was really interesting because I do think like the feminine, and like the womanly body and like all of that part of motherhood really was missing from the book, and I kind of wonder why, because I think it's a big part of trad wife stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you miss any of that?
Um, I have a lot of hits, a lot of things swirling. I feel like they touched on some of that stuff, but like maybe not as in depth as people wanted because I remember parts around when Clementine was born and like this is where I'm like trying to resist going on an urge where I think she had really bad postpartum depression and that also wasn't addressed by
Yeah.
anyone. Like she didn't do therapy, she didn't like get the help that she needed for that. And that was
Mm-hmm.
again one of those moments where I was like hopeful that we were gonna see some like change because I like really thought that was part of the hate in the beginning, especially
Yeah.
the way she was treating her kids. I just figured like, well, she keeps popping out babies and she's got this postpartum
Yeah.
depression. But I feel like they touched on it a little because I don't remember exactly what they said, but like I remember her stopping breastfeeding with Clementine pretty early because like her mom kind of took over and she like basically moved in with her mom and was like, I don't want to fucking deal with this baby. Like, can you just raise my kid? And I like again like on one hand I like sympathize because I was like, man, like I know postpartum depression like from what I've read. I'm not a mom, but from what I've read, it's like really tough. So I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I feel bad. But then I also was a little bit triggered because I know that my mom like had shared where like she gave up breastfeeding me pretty young and like well and, like all these things where I was like, see this fucking like it's just reminds me so much of my mom in so many weird ways. Like I don't know.
Uh-huh.
So I remember bits and pieces of it because I remember being triggered by it. So I'm like I remember
Yeah.
them touching on like she stopped or whatever because she just fucking hated Clementine and didn't even want to be near her and didn't want to look at that baby. She thought that baby was
Uh-huh.
evil and I was like, okay. So I remember that and then I feel like I vaguely remember her talking about wearing a diaper. Like after because that was like part of her misery too where she's like I went through all this shit and I'm fucking miserable and I'm wearing a diaper and I hate this baby, like she hated that
Yeah.
baby. So
Yeah.
I feel like that was the bulk of like maybe they didn't touch on
Okay.
as much of the physical
Uh-huh.
stuff because she genuinely was just so full of the hate and the depression that she
Yeah.
was too in her head to really
Yeah.
like she wasn't being a mom. And then
Yeah.
quickly, I don't know when they got the nannies and stuff, but like she really wasn't motherly.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about like feeding children and whatever, and like the scenes that stick out to me the most are her in the kitchen, and she's baking all of these things that are really wholesome and nice and whatever, but she's purely doing it for the camera.
Yeah.
And it's like she doesn't even know what the nannies are feeding her children, or why, or when, or what,
Where their
or
kids even
whatever.
are.
But she knows what she's feeding her camera and her social media feed, and that's like, to me, that was like, oh, that was just really stark. Having her kids be eating meals in the kitchen while she's making something that's not even for them, it's for the camera.
Yeah. That's why I feel like when she actually stepped into like her motherhood, it was performative. She never
Yeah.
actually was motherly or did like anything. Like
Yeah.
she literally didn't like her kids like
Yeah.
until the very very last one. But
Yeah. Yeah. So, did you know what was going on, like, toward the end?
honestly, I feel embarrassed to say no because I'm normally really good at like predicting
Same.
like plot twists and things.
Me too.
I did suspect early on it was that damn microphone. When she picked up the microphone and was like talking about it, I was like, okay, so this is proof that we're not back in time. Like obviously we are still in the same like 2026 or whatever year it's supposed to be. And
Yeah.
I could not let it go. But then I did notice cuz I like to pick up on like the little things in like shows and books and things that are like maybe somebody else overlooks. They quickly started calling it the pebble. They stopped calling it the microphone and they started calling it the pebble. So then I kept questioning, was it a microphone? Or did she just think that, like, did she have a hallucination when she picked it up? And if she goes under her mattress someday, she's gonna pull out a pebble. I kept waiting for her to, like, go back and find it again and talk about it and realize it wasn't a microphone. So
Yeah.
I could not, I knew she lost her mind, but I didn't accurately say how she lost her mind. Like, I still kept
Yeah.
teetering around, like, the damn microphone pebble thing. That's all I could, like, use as evidence for her losing her mind. Everything else I was like, again, maybe it's like a night before Christmas and like she is having some kind of like dream, and I'm really into dreams. And so I also was like rooting for it to be a dream the entire time. I was like, she's gonna wake up from this double life because
Yeah.
I mean it's not like a continuous dream, but like I very often go into like like an ongoing plot in my dreams. Like it's not even like a recurring dream. It's like I pick up where the last one left off like weeks ago, but I'm like, oh, this is that timeline. Like I
Yeah.
know when I wake up that I was living that life last night. So I
Uh-huh.
kept rooting for that. Also,
Yeah.
I was like, and that would be good because then she still has a chance to fucking redeem herself. She can
Right.
wake up from this nightmare and she
Mhm.
be a changed woman. And
Mhm.
so no, I definitely thought at a few points she lost her mind, but I did not. I could have never predicted that she
Yeah.
was literally just torturing herself and her children, like literally torturing them. Like I imagine them all now so like emancipated and like just awful, like dirty, starving children. Like it breaks. Like the movie is gonna be so hard to watch whenever that like
Mhm.
comes out. I don't even know if I want. I'm not gonna go see it in theaters. I can't watch that in
Yeah.
a public setting.
Uh-huh.
Like I need to see that at home with my blankets and like my cozy. Um.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, how about you?
Yeah.
Did you predict it? Did you know? Because I feel like
No, and
neurodivergent people are good at this. I was expecting to predict the end.
I'm usually really, really good at it, and I like pride myself on that, and I had no
Right.
idea. There was so much continuity between the story and the times, even though they were it was wildly confusing. I had no idea, like when the boys came over, and there were like just like boys that, no idea that those could possibly have been her sons. No
Yeah.
idea. I think it hit me when she walked into the cabin, and then like that's when I started understanding. And then the boys were there, and they were watching something and whatever. Then I was like, oh wait, is this what's going on? And like so then it started hitting me. But for the whole book, I was so confused of what is actually going on here. I thought that it was like, I don't even remember the movie because I don't know the culture. I thought she was being filmed for a thing. Like I thought her husband was in on it, and
Like
she was
Truman
being
Show.
like studied. The Truman Show, yeah, like
Yeah.
being studied like a specimen. But that's what I thought it was, because I was like, I don't understand what's going on here. But the fact that it was like the fact that her daughter came and rescued her other daughter and her son, it was just the whole thing. And it, of course, made me lose all respect for the man in the situation. Like, what are you doing? Where have you been? What is going on here? This is bananas. So yeah, that it was all very confusing and very, very startling for sure.
Yeah. And I talked to a few people about like the book and stuff, and somebody was asking like basically they're like, I have questions, you know, like did the mailman stop coming? Like,
Yeah.
and that was the one that stumped me where I was like, I honestly don't know. I imagine the mailbox is like at the end of the driveway, which is like miles from the house, you know, maybe. And
Yeah.
so the mailman didn't stop coming,
Sure.
but like Caleb or the sons picked up the mail, so she just didn't see the mail. Like, I don't know. That was a good question.
Yeah.
The thing that was eating me alive for a minute was like, why didn't her mom or his parents intervene at any
Yeah.
point? But
Yeah.
then I realized they did. They literally already rescued the kids, and then they just had more kids, and nobody
Yeah.
knew that they had more kids.
Yeah.
That's the most insane part to me. We bring
Yeah.
up like back up the home births. She literally just had a bunch of home births and had these secret kids that
Yeah.
literally have never left that fucking farm, have no
Mhm.
idea that they're like I can't even imagine. So I keep telling people I'm like dreaming of a sequel where we actually get to read Mary's fucking memoir and like see her adaptation to the
Cool.
world because
Yeah.
I don't have the closure that I was expecting. Like I
Yeah.
really was waiting, like I think going back to like old Caleb, like all the hints of like it's still being the same timeline that like
Right.
felt really obvious at the end. I
Yeah.
didn't even pick when she walked in the cabin and they were like, "Mama." I still was like, "Oh, okay, this is a nightmare. She's about like they're crazy. She's about to run home." Like I literally did not register that those were her sons. Still, I was like, "This is a nightmare. She's about to go wake up." And that's why like she knows some of the people and doesn't know some of the people because that's very dreamlike. You sometimes know
Yeah.
people and sometimes you don't, or sometimes you see
Uh-huh.
somebody you don't know but they feel familiar, like her
Uh-huh.
kids. Like it all made
Yeah.
sense to me. And
Yeah.
then none of that happened and it was just miserable, and then we just get this little glimpse of like, I'm okay now, miss you mama, and I'm like, I need more. Like I need to know everything about the rest of their lives. Like
Well, you need
I
to see the generational curse be broken, because it seems like those
literally,
kids
I'm
have it
like,
in them
because I
to
kept
do it.
expecting it from either of them. Even just to
Yeah.
have like even the hint of like Caleb being wanting to be a kindergarten teacher. I was like, cool, so maybe he'll take the kids and leave her. Like she's not gonna get
Yeah.
divorced, but he could divorce her. Like he
Yeah.
doesn't seem as culty religion-y as she is. Like,
Yeah.
I just I'm so mad and I have so many questions and like I need more is all I can say. It's like I need
Yeah.
closure. And that's why I started my Stardew Valley game where I'm now Natalie in Yesteryear Farm. My cat is named Clementine and my kids are gonna be Mary and some I don't know who the boy's gonna be yet because I feel like she didn't talk about the boys as much. One of my chickens is Maeve because I was like,
Oh
poor
my
Maeve
gosh.
and her chickens. Like,
That's amazing. Yeah.
like I'm literally
That's
like my heart is torn up. I need the closure that I never got and was expecting the entire time.
uh-huh. Yep, I feel that. I'm excited to follow along with your Stardew stuff. I'll say like the last thing from my perspective before we close out here, whatever, is like this book to me, like what an interesting illustration of the powerfully isolating effect of social media plus ungodly amounts of money. I feel like so many people in our culture today are so isolated, and social media is a big part of the reason why. I feel like social media also has a community producing effect that can actually challenge isolation when it's used in certain ways. I think the influx of the kind of money that makes it so that you can then go buy a thing and just be away and do things like have children no one knows about because you're so isolated, is really, really interesting. I mean, there were times in my life like in 2021 time period where I didn't have that kind of money, but I dreamed of going away, living with my little social media bubble and moving. I wanted to live in a yurt in the mountains in North Carolina. That's what I wanted. I wanted to raise my kids totally off the grid, homeschool them for the rest of their life. Didn't want to be neglectful, didn't want to like put them in these crazy religious ideas and like all that. It wasn't about that. But did want to protect them from all the whatever culturally is happening out here that in a lot of ways is like really harmful. And had I had money to do that, I might very well be living in the mountains and homesteading. And thankfully, my social media community has always been quite liberal and progressive and human rights focused. So I know it wouldn't have turned out exactly this way, but I just think there's something really interesting with this combination of social media and money that allows for isolation that can be really, really harmful depending on the beliefs that you've grown up with and the values and the things that are important to you. So a warning to our culture.
Yeah. I mean, I think that just brings up like the authenticity piece of it all. Like you're saying, it wouldn't turn out the same way for you because you would actually be living out your true morals and values, and like you're not putting on an act. Whereas like she was very much putting on an act, and I think that lent into her mental breakdown was like the whole imposter of it all. She didn't just feel like she had imposter syndrome. She literally knew she was being a fraud. And then that all came to light, and it's like, how do you hide from the truth now? You literally have to like go crazy. You either have to face the truth or do what she did, like, and actually lose your fucking mind.
Yeah.
And again, like, what a luxury for her in a way to like. It's still like it's so hard to wrap my brain around. Like, I'm so glad it's fiction, but but yeah, it, like again, it wouldn't happen to you or me or anything because we're not faking for, at least trying not to fake what we are, who we are. I might not show up 1,000% all the time, but I'm not showing up fakely. I just don't show up if I'm not feeling it. So that's the difference too. I feel like she's like forcing herself and the kids to show up when no one wants to be there, even her. She hates her entire audience. Like, it's just so, it's such a different vibe.
It's fiction, and the child neglect pieces, like, I really hope that there are very small amounts of fiction turning into reality there. But it's also influencer culture, social media culture, brands. Anyone who has worked in a social media department for a brand knows how real this is. Lies, appearances, facades, and disdain and contempt for your audience is quite literally how we have the president of the United States we have. So it's it's real, and it doesn't just affect the trad wife vein. I mean, that is part of what is so dangerous about social media and why authenticity is so important, because if you are not being authentic and you are presenting a certain image and then you get more and more extreme. I mean, that's what happens with social media audiences. They want more and more and more and more of you. And if the you that you're presenting them is not actually you, and then you're going down this thing, it can spiral really quickly out of control and create
It's the
really
same as like masking
things.
in corporate. It's exhausting to pretend to be someone you're not, regardless of the why. It's like, I can't imagine.
I didn't mean to. We just like veered back into corporate for a minute.
No, but like it's literally just as exhausting. It's like that's the whole reason that I left corporate, was I wanted to be myself. So it's like that's probably another reason I hated the book, with like her fakeness. But
totally.
we should wrap it up.
We should wrap it up. This was good. I like book talks. Let's do more book talks. Thank you everyone for listening to season 1. Thank you, Maggie, for doing this podcast and for participating in season 1, being my co-host.
Thanks for encouraging me.
It's been so fun. So, all right. We will talk to you all again soon.